You're looking live at the setup for the LA Times Festival of Books. We'll introduce you to the founder.
We spoke with a renowned LA poet who is also one of the honorees at this year's festival.
And a USC student published a book called 50 Things Better Than Sex. We'll talk with the author here in the studio. The LA Times Festival of Books has taken over the USC campus. Good evening, I'm Vincent Demonte.
And I'm Allie Anthony. More than 100,000 people are expected to come to the festival this weekend. Reporter Olivia Tyler is live in Alumni Park.
Thank you, Allie. I am outside of the main stage for the Los Angeles Times Festival of Books before it kicks off this Saturday. The event has not been held in person since 2019, but organizers are expecting a large turnout now that COVID rules have relaxed a bit. What started as a literary festival 27 years ago now encompasses podcast, cooking demonstrations, VR, and kids booths.
I think it's just a lot more planning, right, to make sure that there is COVID testing and vaccination requirements for any of the indoor panels, and just making sure we're following all of the safety COVID protocols has really been the biggest change.
I think it attracts people that just want to come and engage with the city and the communities. And so there's almost like something for everyone at the festival. Even if you're not a huge book reader, I think between all the different areas and zones, you could come with a wide group of people and have a great full day of activities.
If you are planning to attend the festival this weekend, general admission is free. Indoor events may require a fee or reservation. There's $14 campus parking, and masks are required when indoors.
It has grown enormously. I think keeping it free to the public was very important. I'm hoping and assuming it will go on for forever, as long as people continue to read and as long as the Times is willing to put the money into it, and and I think they are. It's really a great community service and a great community event.
USC has been the presenting partner for the festival over the last few years, and earlier this year, that partnership was renewed, so you can expect to see the stage again soon. With artists like Janelle Monáe and Billy Porter speaking, organizers are expecting a bigger turnout than 2019's 165,000 attendees. For Annenberg Media, I'm Olivia Tyler. Back to you in the studio.
The winner of the LA Times annual Robert Kirsch Award for Lifetime Achievement is the author of 16 books and a former LA Poet Laureate.
And it isn't easy being a writer for anybody. It's harder if you happen to be brown or black or a woman or queer, let's say. But on the other hand, almost every writer has a hard time. Writing is a hard business. It's a hard life. But if you do get rewards and get recognition, I don't know if I want to say that's the icing on the cake. I think that's just amazingly beautiful on top of everything else.
Rodrguez also ran for governor in 2014 as the Green Party candidate. He is currently running in the 2022 California gubernatorial election. He says reading and writing have played important roles throughout his life.
I've always been active politically and socially in a lot of ways. I've always been concerned about social justice and what happens in our world. Even my poetry and my writing is connected to that. So it wasn't a big leap. Like people say, well, you're a poet, why do you get in politics? Well, it wasn't a big leap for me to do that. But I think we need, as John Kennedy used to say, we need more poetry and politics and more politics and poetry.
One of Rodriguez's best-known work is Always Running, La Vida Loca, Gang Days in LA. He is the founding editor of Tia Chuka's Press and known for his youth and arts advocacy work.
A best-selling author, actress, and activist manages to bring humor even to the most difficult experiences of life. We spoke to her before she makes her appearance at this weekend's festival.
A book festival like this is a great way of opening your world up. The most exciting thing is to come with no expectations except to come see my panel. But other than that, no expectations at all, and run into something that will take your breath away, the way a sentence can take your breath away.
Her newly released You're Leaving When is currently a New York Times well-favorite book for healthy living. On Saturday, she will join a panel of authors for a conversation about memoirs.
Well, today we have a special guest with us in the studio tonight, student author Chase Prager, who is here to tell us about his new book. 50 Things Better Than Sex is a comedic book packed with humor and shared experiences we can all have a laugh about. Prager also showcases illustrations drawn by family and friends, along with his witty and clever captions. Well, Chase, we are so glad to have you here on the couch in the studio with us tonight. And let me just start off by saying your book is awesome. There's so many cool things in here. So to just start off and get right into it, what inspired you to write this book, and why did you write it in the first place?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate the witty and clever comment. That was awesome. My mom, who's watching at home, will appreciate that. But this was something that was a tab on my computer for a very, very long time. I used to write a little bit on plane rides or on the weekends, just trying to find time to finish the 50 things. The first one was the grocery store interaction escape, and I would keep piling away at it, but never really had the time to finish it before a class here called Peak Performance. In that class, you have kind of a capstone project called a Serious Baller Move, and my Serious Baller Move was to finish this thing. And look how beautiful it is now.
Well, so is this your first time then kind of writing a novel and kind of getting in the writing world here?
Oh yeah, this is completely from scratch. There is nothing fake about this. There's typos all over the place. The back cover has a very famous typo, which some have pointed out, nerds. It says illustrious coffee book table. I think it's funny, so I kept it, but yeah, there's mistakes all over the place. This is my first go around.
Man, nice. So, since this is your first time, I bet the process must have been, brand new to you, a little confusing. How was the overall process for you about getting this book finally to the point where it's at now?
Yeah, I would say the coolest part of it was the big difference between this and the first version that came out, which was just the text, was the illustrations. And my kind of overall plan was to have 50 different USC students make the illustrations. And the final product is really, really awesome, but it was hard to get those 50 illustrations in. We tried everything from like taking pictures of them to scanning them at FedEx, but we found the scanning software to directly upload it into the book. And I'm really, really proud of all the illustrators. So it's a really collaborative effort, and that's been the best part of this.
Yeah, well, the book is full of these amazing illustrations and some really clever captions as well. Do you have kind of a favorite illustration that's in the book, or something that like you personally love that's in it?
Here we go. I promised I would shout her out. This one is amazing. Lexi Brooks, The Flawless Rehearsal. You make me feel like I'm living a teenage dream. If you ever sung that in the car, that is an amazing moment, and she depicted it perfectly right here.
Oh, I know for a fact I've definitely sung that song a few times.
Of course you have. Everybody has.
Everyone has. Come on now. And before we went live, you talked a little bit about your parents. How are your parents feeling about this whole book and the experience with it?
Surprisingly, they're taking it very well. They're very, very excited that their son is an author. My mom is telling everybody she knows that her son is an author, and soon to be a New York Times best-selling author.
Yep. Well, you heard it here, everyone. You can find Prager's book on his website, 50thingsbetterthansex.com, and somewhere on campus selling his copies this weekend.
Bye, right here.
There's something about walking into a bookstore that's just special. For one store owner in Culver City, having a book in your hand has made all the difference. Malik Books did not let the pandemic get in the way of educating people of all ages. Like many retailers, the store was forced to reconsider its operations while everyone was stuck at home. But the co-owner says her team had to find other ways to help people enjoy the experience of reading.
People still like to touch their books, page flips, smelly books, writing their books. People still enjoy it. We closed down for 7 months, and we were there one day, and the next day they told us we couldn't come back. And that put us in a really a big bind. We would deliver books to our customers who did order online when we were able to get back in.
Malik Books specializes in works by Black authors and other people of color. The store invites everyone to visit its tent this weekend at the festival. The American Library Association says the number of banned books is on the rise. Many of these books touch on topics related to race, sex, and gender identity. The group counted 1,597 books that were challenged in 2021. They include American classics like To Kill a Mockingbird, The Catcher in the Rye, Of Mice and Men, and Lord of the Flies. An Arizona State professor says this trend is dangerous to young, creative minds.
The general ideas are to ban anything that has any sort of sex in it or gender identity, anything that has racial overtones. You can't decide for other people what books they will read. If you don't want to read a book, or you don't want your children to read a book, that is your right. And controlling those books would be the same as controlling ideas.
The Florida Education Department recently rejected 54 math textbooks for its K-12 curriculum. The department says reasons range from the inclusion of critical race theory to Common Core learning concepts. The sale of hard and paperback books are up by 9%, but literacy rates are at an all-time low, with just 79% of the U.S. population able to read. Reporter Tatum Larson shows us how access to books is key.
Some may think the U.S. is at the forefront of literacy, but it actually ranks 125th in the world. 21% of adults in the U.S. are currently illiterate. 54% of adults read below the 6th grade level, and low levels of literacy cost the U.S. up to $2 trillion every year.
Reading, it can be a tool for our students to have something to love or learn more about something that they already love.
The World Population Review says California has the lowest literacy rate in the country at just 77%. This means 1 in 4 Californians lack proper reading skills. Experts cite underfunded schools, lack of bilingual education, and income inequality as the main reason for these low rates.
Low literacy rate will have, important implications for labor force participation, earnings, and also other aspects of the social life as well.
Los Angeles education nonprofits like Schools on Wheels say that literacy can open doors for the low-income children they serve.
Literacy seems like, how is it this magic bullet that can keep kids in school? But once you get past that point of knowing how to read, so it really becomes the key to all sorts of education. If you have the tools to read what you want to read, you can find representation. And it also can be a way to step through to another world, to learn about something completely unfamiliar to you.
Income status and access to education do factor into literacy rates, but some say these societal issues go beyond schools and must be addressed by the government. For Annenberg Media, I'm Tatum Larson.
For some international students, learning English can be difficult. USC's American Learning Institute provides students with a weekly book club dedicated to helping non-English speakers practice English.
So I've been working at the American Language Institute since I was a first semester freshman, and so I helped co-pioneer the writing lab and book club programs. And so I found it really rewarding to be able to talk to students and help them just navigate these different texts. And I think stories are a really great way to bring people together, and so they're really able to practice their English in a more engaging way when we talk about it. And I have a great time talking with them.
The book club selects 6 classic short stories and meets each week to discuss the book. For many of the students who attend, it's a great way to learn about American culture and get a new perspective on the English language.
They will not always say something, but you can say something, and they will not judge you like you are wrong or you are right. They just say, okay, that's a good idea, that's good, that's good try. I can learn some, good stories, good articles, because they choose a very, famous articles, and it's also helped me to learn some, American cultures.
While book clubs are a great way to meet other readers, you could always visit one of the campus libraries to check out books on your own. The Doheny Memorial Library is the oldest library on the USC campus. A university archivist let us in on a little of its history.
Edward L. Doheny Jr. was a graduate of USC. So when he passed, his parents wanted to honor his memory and committed the entire funding for this building. It's one of the jewels of campus. It's got this great entry hall with marble floors and wood, sort of local woods, and stained glass windows.
Many USC students prefer to study at Doheny over other spots on campus and echo the feeling that it's a beautiful library.
Doheny has that nice old warm feeling about it.
Coming here for graduate school and seeing the library when I walk in, just the wide room and the high ceilings kind of puts me really in the study mood, I would say.
You have to choose it for the vibes, right? Like the architecture in Doheny is much nicer. It's much more aesthetically pleasing.
The library's namesake was the son of oil tycoon Edward L. Doheny Sr. It opened in 1932 and is currently home to over 300,000 books and journals. Another fun fact, more than 20 movies and TV shows have been filmed at Doheny, including The Graduate, starring Dustin Hoffman.
Who remembers silent reading time in elementary school? I sure do. You could just relax and lose yourself in your book of choice. We asked students what their favorite childhood books were.
My favorite childhood book was mostly of Sherlock Holmes.
The Series of Unfortunate Events.
I think it's called The Girl Who Could Fly. Brown Bear, when I was younger. I know I had that memorized.
So my favorite style is to read them physically because when I'm reading online books, it gets boring to me.
Prefer physical books. It's just relaxing to have a book with you and people are interested in it.
I prefer having a physical copy that I can flip the pages on. I definitely prefer physical books. I hold it like this with my two hands in front and I flip the pages.
I also love a physical hard copy book. What about you, Vincent?
No, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
100%. So since we're on the topic of, childhood favorite books, which one's yours, Allie?
It's hard. I always loved The Giving Tree, but honestly,
classic.
my favorite was anything Fancy Nancy. I remembered every single word to those books, and it honestly shows.
I totally remember all those books too. My favorite probably has to be The Hobbit. My dad introduced it to me Christmas when I was 9 years old, and I loved it. Loved the movies, loved everything about Middle-earth. It was so fun.
It's such a good book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks for watching See It Live. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Allie Anthony.
And I'm Vincent Demonte. For more coverage, watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Annenberg Media. Good night.